Let's talk about. So I had a little run-in with the police the other day. I want to do a video of like a tour of the CRV that I live in, and show y'all exactly how I do it, because it'll help a lot of people who are building out vehicles, and it's also I'm just due to do another walkthrough, so that might be the next video. The thing is, when I film that video, I don't want it. I want a little bit of privacy, because I don't like. I'm in a pretty public parking lot right now. I know where I want to film it. It's just I haven't felt like driving over there the last couple of days, so I'm gonna do this video. So I had a little run-in with a police officer not too long ago. And I want to make something crystal clear, and this applies to all of you guys, whether you realize it or not. First of all, there is not one single person on this planet who has any authority over me. Not one. And the same goes for you. A lot of you guys think there's these authority figures that you have to answer to. That's an illusion. None of them have any authority. The only authority they have is the authority you give them. Now, does that mean I'm saying you should argue and fight with the cops? No, that's not what I'm saying. You got to play along with them. Otherwise, you're going to cause yourself problems. But in God's eyes, none of these people have any authority over you. And this is one of the reasons I don't vote, because it's all a big game. It isn't real. In my opinion, I can't say for sure, but I don't believe it's real. I do not believe for 1 second that the Republicans and the Democrats are opposing powers. They're all on the same team. If they weren't, we'd be living in a very different society, because just look at the past 50 years. You've had the Democrats have had power probably half the time, and the Republicans have had power probably half the time. But our way of living and our standard of living has steadily gone down as theirs has steadily gone up. And that's not a coincidence. It's not, oh, it's the Democrats' fault. Oh, it's the Republicans' fault. It's both their faults. They both maintain the same agenda. If you really pay attention to Trump, though, we're the mass deportations and all that. Yeah, that was last month. What are they doing this month? They ain't doing shit. I mean, it's just a big show. He's just trying to, he's another puppet, and it's all part of the show, bro. Like, they purposely, the whole 2020 election was just to get everyone all riled up to be fanatics for Trump. This way Trump could step in and do whatever he wants, and these people are just so glad that Biden isn't in there that Trump can get away with anything. It's all a big game. And so I lean to the right way more than I lean to the left. I mean, the modern left is unhinged. In their opinion, men and women are this androgynous thing that I mean, they really got your mind twisted and messed up when they've got you ignoring the evidence that your logic and your experience and just the world that you witness firsthand, they've got these people believing in a different world that they made up in their minds. So, what's that quote from George Orwell? The final, most important step is to get them to ignore the evidence of their eyes and ears and basically accept whatever narrative we push. That's where the left is at now. At least on the right. Now, the right, they're just as brainwashed and subverted in different ways. But at least some of them still have the ability to go against these politicians. I see way more people on the right calling out bullshit coming from Republicans than I see on the left. On the left, it's obvious that Kamala Harris was not qualified to do. I wouldn't trust her to watch my dog. I mean, I don't have a dog, but and it's not even nothing personal against her. I see a lot of news outlets making fun of her. Oh, she's an alcoholic. Oh, Kamala Harris has to drink. I don't want to see this woman suffer. I don't want her to deal with alcoholism. I just don't think she's a leader. You know what I mean? Let's put it this way: if we had 10 people lost in the woods and Kamala Harris was with us, do you think we'd be listening to her, or do you think we'd be just trying to help keep her alive? You know what I mean? And that's not I'm not trying to insult her or make fun of her or anything. She's just not, you know, you can't have someone like that in charge, okay? So, but either way, it's all a big game. But it's like the people on the left, like, is that what you wanted? Did you want Kamala Harris in charge? And like I said, I don't believe Trump is really anywhere near as legit as everyone thinks. I think he's another puppet taking orders. But let's just say, for argument's sake, it's all real. Would you rather have Kamala Harris in charge than Donald Trump? I sure wouldn't. And you know what I mean? But anyways, that's way beside my point. So, let me get back to my point here. So, I don't recognize anyone on earth as having any authority over me. It's that simple. I answer to God. I don't answer to people. God did not make anyone more, more powerful than me. We're all at different stages of our personal evolution, but God did not put me on this earth to be answering to other people, and he didn't do it. There's scratching in my dashboard. Just ignore it. Something's wrong with my radio. I say there's a gremlin in there fixing it, because sometimes my radio works and sometimes it don't. It was working, and now the gremlin just went in there and disconnected something. Hopefully he'll reconnect it before I drive again. But so it's hard for me to play along with this bullshit, stupid, ridiculous, insane society that we live in, because I see through it. The more you break out of the matrix, the more obvious everything is. You know what I mean? So watch my previous videos for the details on everything, but I used to try very hard to play along by the rules of this society. Growing up in it, I thought it was normal. As everything kept blowing up in my face, and I realized that I'm working my whole life away and getting nothing in return, because every month they take away all my money through rent, through car insurance, through phone bill, cable bill, electric bill. All these bills basically would knock me back down to zero every month, and I'm working full time. And I realized, and what's funny is people think, oh, this is normal. Look, here's the thing: all this money you pay and all these bills, it all gets funneled and channeled through a whole bunch of people. It all ends up in the same place. There's a small group of people who have the majority of the population enslaved. And the only reason you can get away with that is when you make the people believe that they're free. So how do you do that? Well, you create this big, confusing, convoluted, ridiculous system where they think that they have to pay thousands of dollars every month for basic necessities, which our caveman ancestors managed to acquire all those things for free. And we have to work our asses off just to provide ourselves with food and shelter. And I understand that there's some people in the middle class, it looks like, oh, it's a fair deal. It really isn't. The amount of work everyone's putting in and what they end up getting in return for it, food and shelter, for the most part, everyone's getting robbed blind. And the world is changing in a major way. The Matrix is breaking down. If you want details, go on my Patreon. But we're past the tipping point. They're losing, we're winning. And here's the thing: they lose power every day, we gain power every day. The truth is out for a lot of people, and their whole system is breaking down, and I'm really enjoying it personally. So anyways, so I'm sitting in the parking lot the other day, one of my little camp spots around Florida, where I stay around Clearwater, Tampa, St. Pete, and I'm in one of my little spots. I'm sitting there, I got my portable panel out, I'm charging up, I'm bullshitting on my phone, and I see a little police vehicle pull up a couple of spots next to me, and I don't give a fuck. I ain't even paying it. It's some woman cop. She's like older, middle-aged, probably. She looked like a crackhead homeless woman, honestly. But so I'm sitting here just bullshitting on my phone. I ain't paying her no mind. And she comes up, and she's polite, and so I'm polite, you know. And she's like, do you need any homeless services or anything? And I was like, no, not at all. I was like, I have work, I have money, I'm not destitute. I appreciate it, you know. And then she's like, well, did you know that the Florida passed an anti-homeless and you can't sleep in your car? And I said, well, what's that mean? I gotta leave Florida? Like, bitch, what do you think? I'm gonna just go rent an apartment right now because you said so? You're fucking nobody. And so, and I'm being polite. I'm not saying that. So I said, what's that mean? I gotta leave the state of Florida? And she's like, well, no, you don't have to leave the state of Florida, but you can't sleep in your car, so she's like, I forget how the exact conversation went, but I was basically like, well, she's like, are you new around here? I said, no, I've been living here on and off since I was 14 years old. I'm not new around here at all. Probably been around here longer than you have. But the thing is, I can't accept authority from this little dim-witted moron. You know what I mean? The same goes for any police. And it's not like I hate the police or anything, but it's just, who the fuck do you think you are? You think I answer to you? All their power comes from a corrupt government who is lying and cheating and stealing. It's illegitimate. The people controlling our societies, it's all illegitimate. It's basically, it's a crime. It's like a crime family. So I don't recognize their authority. Where does the police power come from? Well, the reason people answer to police is because they know deep down on a subconscious level that the police, their authority comes from violence. They can shoot you and get away with it. They can lock you up and put you in a cage. They can call for backup. They can get all these powers to do violence to you. It's all backed by violence. It's illegitimate. And so it's hard for me to sit here playing along with this dim-witted moron who realistically, in my opinion, is far beneath me. And I'm not trying to, realistically, on an evolutionary scale, I'm way past this little dog of a person. And so... And honestly, that's how I feel about police in general. I feel like these are people who they've betrayed us all to enforce power from these corrupt authorities who have no legitimate power or authority. And they've hired a bunch of our own people to be their little dogs to enforce their corruption. I mean, you're in a corrupt society when there's so many laws that no one even knows what they are. And so what it comes down to is we're being treated like we're in occupied territory, as if we were conquered by some enemy and now they're here and they can just harass us whenever they want. Show me your license, show me your papers. Like, who? None of this shit is legitimate. I mean, we play along with it because what's the other option? To get killed or put in a cage? That's the reality of the society you're living in. And now they paint over it with a whole bunch of, bullshit and nonsense. But that's what it comes down to when you break it down to its purest form. It's backed by violence. And so for someone like me who I stopped living like a normal person a long time ago because I realized that this whole thing is rigged against me and there's no winning in it. Without another thing that I've noticed, which I've been thinking about lately, is like status symbols. A nice car, an Apple Watch. People who have disposable income, you can tell when you see them because they'll have like an Apple Watch, which is basically just a less functional smartphone that you wear on your wrist, it's a waste. It's a pointless thing to have. Or, a really nice car, whatever. And you think to yourself, well, a status symbol like that shows that this person has a higher status in your society. Like, how do they obtain these status symbols? Well, how they obtain it, from my perspective, is by being submissive and playing along with a crooked game. And a lot of the times, a lot of people get money by doing a lot of dishonest things. Now they can twist it around in their mind and warp it to where it's just capitalism, it's just business. Yeah, okay. Well, when you're betraying the good of your own people for your own profit, that's not a respectable trait. That's, so now I could be wrong, and if you feel you disagree with me, you're free to do that in the comments. We can have a civil discussion. I'm open to, maybe I'm wrong, who knows, but to me it seems like the way to obtain status in this society, for the most part, there's always going to be exceptions to the rule, but for the most part, it's the people who have sold their lives, they're submissive, they're doing whatever they're told, and sometimes screwing people over. Look, take McDonald's, for instance. These people sell food that is made with the cheapest ingredients possible, with chemical, manipulations to make it taste better. And it's, in a normal society that wasn't upside down and insane, those people would be looked down upon. Like, you're putting profits over the people's health. These are your own people. This is your own society. You're now, and I'm not trying to pick on McDonald's. I'm talking about like fast food in general. In a normal society, people would look down on that. You're selling trash for a huge profit. You're poisoning your own people. And it's like, but those people, like, Walmart or whatever, they're underpaying everyone. They're raking in all these huge profits. In a normal society, that would be looked down upon. You look at companies outsourcing everything to another country, which they all do nowadays. Try to get help for your phone bill, or another example is when I was doing Uber Eats and there would be a problem. I'd call up. I'd get someone in India, and they had absolutely no idea what I'm even trying to explain to them a lot of the time. And I'm just like, so outsourcing to a third world country to make a bigger profit, these things would be looked down upon in a normal society. We're not in a normal society. These people, whoever runs Uber or whatever, who's underpaying everyone who works for him, Uber Eats, Uber, whatever, these are like high status people. So we're in a society where basically, to explain it very simply, and of course there's some nuance and exceptions to the rule, but for the most part, you're rewarded for being a piece of shit. And so it's like, from my perspective, that's how it is. So people try to like look down on me for living in a car. That's it. You're, in my opinion, you're not seeing things the way they really are. But so for someone like me, from my perspective, who that's, I feel I've kind of broken out of this whole matrix, and I see it as the bullshit that it is. It's hard for me to sit there and play along with this police officer who, in my opinion, is not intelligent, not brave. There's nothing I respect about this person. Even the fact that they took that job where they've sold us all out. They're traitors to us all, in my opinion, because they're enforcing the corruption, the corrupt government. They're enforcing corrupt laws on their own people. They purposely, when a police officer is hired, they purposely go for, they don't go, you won't get hired if you have too high a score on the IQ test. I heard that, number one, and it makes sense, because you don't want people who can think. You want people who you can train and mold and shape into basically a robot that's going to do whatever it's told. And so, you know, so I'm thinking to myself, like, these people who they're purposely hiring people who are less intelligent. They're giving them a loaded gun and telling them you have more power than everyone else. And it's like, what type of, so it's like this they're like hall monitors, like rats, like snitches. Like, what type of people want to do that for a living? Want to, like, you know, like some little teacher's pet betrayal. That's how I see it. And don't get me wrong, one of my father's best friends was a cop. I loved him. You know, my father's friend Frank was like an uncle to me. And I got a cousin who's a cop too. So, you know, it's not like I hate cops or anything. I'm talking about the big picture here, the whole system. And so it's hard for me to sit there and play along with this person who I see as one of the least people of society who deserve the least respect. They've sold us all out for a paycheck and a pension. You know, you look at the BLM riots, you got the cops kneeling, and then when people were protesting the COVID, the cops are like beating their ass and putting them in a cage. And this is how twisted and fucked in the head that the right is, that they think the police are on their side. Dude, look at their actions. Forget about what they say. You know, actions are louder than words. They were cracking your heads open and throwing you in a cage when you were protesting these illegal lockdowns. And then when some bullshit happens and, you know, at the BLM, they're kneeling to them. And I'm getting way off topic here, but so look at that whole George Floyd thing. Now, when I watch that video, to me, it's a sad video. It doesn't even make me angry. It makes me sad to see people treating each other that way. You know, where this guy, I don't care what he did, he tried to sell, pawn off a fake 20. He's in a society that's robbing him blind. He's trying to get, you know, anyways. And don't get me wrong, like I said, I'm on the right, but here's the thing. That cop would have kneeled on your head too. Wrong is wrong. I don't care what the races are involved. Now, that being said, that cop, what was his name? Derek Chauvin. What he did was exactly what they trained him to do. He would do the same thing to you. He would do the same thing to me. And it's because through his training, they've shaped him into what they want him to be, which this mindless moron who sees us all as an enemy, who's looking for a reason to, you know, end his life, or, you know, so he's doing what they trained him to do, and that's exactly what he did. That's exactly what they trained him to do. Now, me personally, if I was that cop and I got a guy on the ground, I would have let him up. This is one of the many reasons they wouldn't hire me in the first place. They would know through their psychological testing and shit that I wouldn't make a good cop. I care too much about people. And so basically he did exactly what they trained him and shaped him and molded him to do. He did exactly what they wanted him to do. And the George Floyd ended, his life ended. What do they do? The authorities that he has sold his life to, what do? They betray him and throw him in a cage for, I don't know, however long. But the autopsy even said that George Floyd did not die of asphyxiation. I think his heart stopped because, you know, from what he was on, that's what I think. Now, do I think the cop played a part in it? Sure. When someone's on the ground distressed, begging you, you know, he can't breathe, and me personally, I'm about, dude, stand up, stand in the shade, here's some water. Like, what do you need, buddy? I understand. Like, I don't hate this guy. A fake 20, I get it. I've been broke too, bro. Like, I don't want you to die. I don't want you to be sick. Here, stand in the shade. We'll take you away when you feel a little better. I couldn't be a cop. And so, but my point here is, look at how they betrayed their own, who was doing exactly what they trained him to do. So I don't even want to get into that subject. It's a very polarizing subject. People, you know, half the population thinks George Floyd is evil. The other half thinks the cop was evil. In my opinion, It's not as cut and dry and black and white as that. I don't see either of them as good or evil. I see them as victims of this entire insane society brainwashing that we're all under, that's got us all twisted up and fucked up. But so for someone like me, dealing with this cop who I don't respect this woman. I don't know this woman. I'm gonna be polite to everyone. That doesn't mean I respect him. You know what I mean? So it's hard for me to sit here and play along with some little dumbbell like this, where and the other thing is, she could tell just by interacting with me that this is not your typical homeless moron. This guy is. She didn't even want to deal with me, so she was looking for an escape route, but I was enjoying questioning her. So I was like, basically like, so what are you saying? I gotta leave Florida? Because here's the thing, I have money, and I could leave Florida right now, and Florida would be less cool because of it. I'm out here spending money. I'm good to people. Motherfucking homeless guy comes up to me, I give him $10, bro. Go have a good day, buddy. I'm good for wherever I'm at. I'm good for the economy. I make money. I spend money. I'm a positive influence wherever I'm at. I try to be. So I'm thinking to myself, kick me out of Florida, then I don't give a fuck. Wherever, I feel like I'm a positive influence wherever I am. So if Florida doesn't want me, let it be known, and I'll be on my way. But what's not going to happen is, you're not going to tell me how to live. You're not going to tell me what to do. Now, I wasn't saying this in these exact words, but this is the message I was conveying to her, that basically, you can't tell me shit. The state of Florida can't tell me shit. Look, to Ron DeSantis can't tell me shit. I don't give a fuck about that little bitch with his little high heel shoes and shit. Like, I'm only fucking 5'8". Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to make fun of short people, but Ron DeSantis is just a little dumbass, if you ask me. But everyone loves him because he shipped some illegals, did some political stunt. He's playing y'all like a goddamn fool. Anyways, he's just another power-hungry little shit. So, anyways, so I don't accept authority from any of these people. Donald Trump, I don't give a fuck. The Pope, none of these people mean shit to me. They're all beneath me, in my opinion, and I'm not trying to. They're beneath us all, because they've sold us all out for power and personal gains, and these people are trash, if you ask me. Now, like I said, I try to play along, but here's the thing: the older I get, the further I'm out of this matrix. It all looks like bullshit to me, and I ain't got the patience for these people. And so she ends up saying something like, well, it's illegal to sleep in the car or something. I'm like I said, I'll leave Florida if it's that big a problem. Let me know. And she's like, well, I don't want to have to end up towing your car, and then I'm going to be stuck with you, she says. This little piece of shit who comes up bothering me. I'm minding my own business. Talking about being stuck with me, as if I'm trying to deal with her. So she says that. I don't want to tow your car away and end up getting stuck with you. I said, you ain't going to get stuck with me, first of all. I'll get my car out 5 minutes later. I'm not some destitute. I know you're used to dealing with some destitute homeless crackheads who are afraid of you. That ain't what I am, sugar. So do what you're going to do. I'm trying to be polite, but I'm saying basically, do it. I don't give a fuck. I'll get it out 5 minutes later, and I'll be on my way to motherfucking Texas. You know what I mean? So anyways, she ends up and I wanted to keep her there. I wanted to make it crystal clear. And so she's like, well, there's this anti-homeless law in Florida. I said, look, I don't care what your laws are. Nobody's going to tell me how to live or what to do. So I was like, you want me to go rent an apartment right now because you said so? That's not going to happen. So do what you're going to do, say what you're going to say, and be on your way. I don't give a fuck. I don't care. If you bother me enough, I'll leave Florida, and that's the end of it. And so she basically made her escape because I was enjoying just everything she said. I had an intelligent answer for, and since she has barely any function in her brain. She couldn't really say anything. So anyways, after she left, I looked up the law. This video's getting long. So I looked up this anti-homeless law in Florida, and I started reading about it. And here's the situation: you're not allowed to sleep in your car in Florida for more than 3 hours at a time or something. Here's the exception to the rule, which I found. If your license and registration and tags and insurance and everything is legal, and you're parked in an overnight parking spot, nobody can do anything about it. And so if you're living in a car in Florida, try to stick to the overnight parking spots, and there you go. There's nothing anyone can do about it. There's the loophole in the law. Now that I know, they can mess with me in certain spots of mine, but I have other overnight spots where they cannot mess with me. So I don't care either way. Like I said, I'll leave Florida right now. If they're gonna bother me and annoy me, I'm not like I said, I feel like, hold on, a bunch of loud, a brigade of school buses going by. God. But yeah, like I said, I feel like I am good for whatever area I'm in. So if Florida wants to act a fool, I'm not going to stick around putting up with bullshit from these dumbasses. So I don't care. Like I said, I don't give a fuck either way. I'll be on my way to Texas, Vegas, California, even though I don't really trust my car. I'm not going to sit here getting harassed by these dim-witted morons. But so we'll see what happens. So she left, and this happened a couple weeks ago, and I haven't had any other run-ins, so I'm not concerned about it. But the other thing is, I was looking up more articles about this anti-homeless Florida law. This is just Ron DeSantis trying to play to the boomer Floridians who think, oh, well, if homeless is illegal, there's going to be no homeless. Well, here's what's happening, according to what I was reading. The homeless people now are getting ran off the streets and put into shelters. What's happening is, since you can't hold them against their will in a shelter, they leave the shelter and they go and break into houses and squat in the houses and wreck the houses. So this is typical stupid Florida Republican bullshit, boomer nonsense. Well, make the homeless illegal. Well, okay, then they're gonna break into your house and they're gonna fuck your shit up. I don't care. Who cares? No, don't fix the housing or anything. It's all so stupid. If they wanted to end homelessness, there's a million ways to do it. They need homelessness. They need the normal people out there to see homeless people out here eating out of a trash can and pushing everything they own in a shopping cart. They need the normies to see that and think to themselves, that's going to be me if I don't sell my life for whatever I can get it for. So that's why there's a homeless problem, because they need it. It's just a proverbial gun to your head. They want you to see it. They want you to be afraid of it. And so, but if you want to know who they are, go on my Patreon. Anyways, I think that's the end of this video. Hopefully I got my points across. I appreciate y'all. Thanks for the subs, thanks for the likes, thanks for the tips, and thanks for the channel members, and thanks for the Patreons especially. And if you want a response to your comment, try to get it in the first 30 comments. And I guess, that's the end of it. And that doesn't necessarily mean I'll never respond to your comment. I respond to them randomly out of the blue. There goes the gremlin in my dashboard again. But if you definitely want a guaranteed response, try to get it in the first 30 comments, because I try to respond to the first 30 to 50 comments. Anyways, appreciate y'all. And maybe the next video will be like a walkthrough. I'll show y'all my daytime setup, my nighttime setup, and just give you some tips on living in a vehicle. But appreciate y'all, and I'll see you on the next one. Everyone have a good one.